Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Solo Gamers Club. In tonight's video, I'm diving into the solo experience of Mage Knight as I begin a playthrough of the Conquest scenario. This walkthrough is aimed at players who, like me, are still building confidence with the game's systems. As we explore the Atlantean landscape together, I'll talk through my decisions, explain my reasoning, and highlight the key mechanics that shape each turn. My goal is to make the solo mode feel more approachable and to help newer players understand how all the pieces fit together. For this adventure, I've randomly drawn Wolfhawk as my Mage Knight, with Tovok serving as the dummy player. Before we set out, let's take a closer look at Wolfhawk's deed deck and her available skills so we can get a solid sense of her strengths and what she brings to this journey. As you know, each Mage Knight has two unique cards that they begin with. In the case of Wolfhawk, she has Swift Reflexes and Tirelessness. Her Swift Reflexes will offer her a Move 2, Ranged Attack 1, or reduce one enemy attack by 1. And if it's powered up, we'll have Move 4, Ranged Attack 3, or reduce one enemy attack by 2. So that's a very strong card for us. She also has Tirelessness, Move 2. The next card providing move, including cards played sideways, will give +1 to move this turn. And if it's powered with blue mana, we get Move 4. Each other card providing move, including cards played sideways, gives +1 move this turn. So those are pretty powerful cards. And in this game, movement is extremely important. We're against the clock. We've got 3 days and 3 nights to not only locate the two cities, but to capture them as well. Dividing up our deck into the basic actions, we've got 3 cards that deal with combat, of which 2 of them are red. So we'll have to be keeping these things in the back of our mind when we're maneuvering on the board. We want to make sure that we've got the mana crystals available to us that can activate these actions. As for our special actions, it's kind of one of each there, blue, white, and green. We've only got 1 healing card, Tranquility, 2 cards that will help us with influence, and 6 cards that kind of directly relate to movement. Some of them have some combat abilities as well. So it looks like white might be a good mana color to have to activate those special movement and combat cards. Then we've got the all-important Improvisation. That's a red card, and that gives us a lot of flexibility, movement, influence, or combat. So we've got to keep those things in the back of our mind so that we have, when the opportunities arise and we're able to draw a certain mana, we want to make sure we've got that type of mana available to us for that type of action. Now our opponent that is going to act as the timer in this game is going to be Tovok. And he starts out with 2 blue and 1 red mana crystal. Now we have to keep a very close watch on Tovok because when he does his 3-card draw, he's going to get bonus draws depending upon the colors of the mana that is on his card. So if we end up pulling a 3rd card that's blue, we're going to be cycling through his deck much faster and thus reducing the amount of time that we have available to us to accomplish our tasks. Let's take a closer look now at Wolfhawk's skills and what skills might be coming up for us in our draws and which ones we should be looking out for. Now with my limited experience in the game, I've come to a few conclusions and I'm going to be testing them out during this playthrough. First one I mentioned earlier, and that's movement. We've got to have enough movement to be able to explore this map, find those cities, and be able to attack them. So movement is definitely a top priority. Luckily for us, it appears that Wolfhawk is blessed with an abundance of options on generating movement, so that's good. Second is ranged attack. I love ranged attack for a few reasons. First off, if you're able to take out an opponent with ranged attack, you don't have to worry so much about block. And those block cards that you have in your deed deck can be used for other purposes. So to me, if I have the opportunity to acquire bonuses for ranged attack, That's a top priority for me. And third is the acquisition of mana crystals. I'm always looking for ways that I can acquire mana crystals. And there's a big difference between crystals and mana tokens. Tokens are just good for the turn that you're playing, but the crystals you can have throughout the game until you use them. So I think it's a big, important part of the game is to try to build up your pool of mana crystals as much as possible. So let's take a look at some of Wolfhawk's skills and which ones I'm most interested in. The first skill would be Refreshing Bath. We get a heal and we get to gain a blue crystal. Healing is kind of limited in the beginning of the game, at least from our aspect of our deed deck. We can get healing at villages and the like, but I like to have stuff on hand where I'm not forced into having to travel somewhere for healing if possible. Another one that I'm interested in is the Refreshing Breeze. Again, that's going to give us a heal and a white crystal. And I think the white crystals in the case of Wolfhawk will be very important. And a third, I think, is Deadly Aim. It's going to give us +1 to range or siege, or +2 to any attack during the attack melee phase, including cards played sideways. So I think those are big force multipliers for us, so I'll be looking for those skills. And we also have limited access to Tovok's skill sets. And I think the ones that I would probably be most interested in from him would be Double Time. And that's going to give us an increase into movement. Another one would be Shield Mastery. I think that is a nice skill that I wouldn't mind having from Tovok's skill set. And then third, probably Cold Swordsmanship. I think those would be the most desirable skills from Tovok, and I'll be looking for those during the playthrough. All right, I've got most of the game set up. I've got the decks shuffled, and we're going to start displaying, in this case, our advanced action offer and see what we have available to us. All right. Our advanced action offer includes one of my favorites, Firebolt. Gain a red crystal to your inventory, and then if it's powered, it's going to give us a ranged fire attack of 3. To me, that is highly sought after. Then we have Heroic Tale. Gives us influence 3, reputation +1 for each unit that we recruit this turn. And then if that's powered with white mana, we're going to gain +1 to fame and reputation, and +1 for each unit that we recruit this turn. So that's pretty nice. And then finally we have Temporal Portal. And that one is a little bit more difficult to use, but still valuable. Now we have to watch this advanced actions deck very carefully, because at the end of the round, at the end of the day, of the first day, whatever card is going to be at the bottom of this offer is going to go into Tovok's deed deck. Now in this case, it's a blue card. He already has 2 blue mana in his supply. So we don't want to power up Tovok's ability to get these blue cards and then get bonuses from his blue mana. So that's something we have to keep in mind. We might want to take that card just so that Tovok does not get that version put into his deed deck. Now we'll take a look at the spell offer. All right. Our spell offer includes Burning Shield, Fire Block 4. That's pretty good. Then we have Mana Bolt. When you play this, pay a mana. If you paid blue, we get Ice Attack 8. If you paid red, we get Cold Fire Attack 7. And if we paid white, Ranged Ice Attack 6. That's a pretty good card. And then we have Whirlwind. Target enemy does not attack this combat. Now that is a great card that could save us quite a bit of problems. Now once again, the last card in this list is, at the end of the day is going to directly give Tovok a mana of the color of that card, in this case white. Currently Tovok does not have any white crystals, so that would probably not be a bad card if that was allowed to fall off at the end of the day. We don't want to give Tovok any more blue, that's for sure, and we definitely don't want to give him any more blue cards into his deed deck. Now we'll take a look at the unit offer. These are going to be silverback cards. We've got Shock Troops, that's a level 2 unit. Utum Guardsman, level 2 unit. And Magic Familiars. All right. Okay, the unit offer consists of Magic Familiars. Those can be recruited at mage towers, monasteries, and in magical glades, I guess. Now those are kind of tough to deal with because they require mana in order to use them. So we'll have to see about that. Utum Guardsmen, they give us an attack 2 or block 4. And that counts twice against any attack with swiftness, so those are pretty good. And we can get those at keeps or in villages. And we have Shock Troops. Those are only available at keeps. And they give us ranged attack 1. We can reduce the armor of one attack of a chosen enemy by 1, or reduce one enemy attack by 3. So pretty valuable. All right, now let's take a look at our initial terrain tokens coming off of our starting space. Here's the first one. We're going to place it here. And let's see where it goes. Okay. It'll be going there. All right, we've got a mage tower, rampaging orcs, magical glade, and I think that's a mine. Incidentally, when you're placing these, it's not only the symbols that you're matching up, but you're trying to make sure that the text on these corners is in the same alignment. Because there's technically other ways that this could be placed. I mean, you could place it this way. It's still matching up with a circle and a diamond, but the text is all up, you know, the graphics are all upside down. So you always want to have it with the number facing the same as your starting location. Okay, now for this one here, we have to place a purple token on the tower and a rampaging orc in that location. Now these are always going to be placed face up, so let's see what we've got here. All right, that is a prowler. And let's see what our next map tile reveals to us. Okay. And we want it that way. All right, that is our next map tile. We've got a glade, a monastery, another rampaging orc, and a mine of some kind. So we'll place out another rampaging orc. That'll be face up. And this one is a little tougher. I think that is a hag. Now, as I'm still new to this game, I like using these cards to help us remember the different functions of the locations on the map. It ends up that this is a deep mine that allows us to gain either crystal. This is a standard crystal mine. In this case, it's a blue one. So we have to come up with a plan now of what we're going to want to do. We haven't drawn our cards from our deed deck yet, but what I'm thinking is I probably would like to travel to this mine. When we end on a crystal mine, at the end of our turn, we're going to gain a crystal of that color. Then from there, we can attack the cursed hags and then move into the monastery. I think that might be a good plan. This area here, I don't know. It's nice to go to the mage tower, and we could move up there and investigate that, but we're going to be spending a lot. If that ends up being too tough for us, we're going to waste a lot of movement going up there. So I think our safest bet is to probably head to the mine and go after what we can see. Now, once again, this video is not intended for advanced players of Mage Knight. This is for novices like myself, and we're trying to gain a better understanding of the game with the limited knowledge that we have when we're first learning. Okay, now we're going to make a roll of the dice, and we're going to find out what our mana offer is for this first day. Okay, we've got 2 green and a blue. All right. Now we're going to draw our cards from our D deck. We have currently a hand limit of 5. Our current armor is 2, hand limit of 5, so we've got 5 cards to draw for our opening hand. We've got March, Mana Draw, Determination, Concentration, and Threaten. Okay, that's our starting hand. Our last step now before we begin play is we have to select our tactics. And we'll be getting out the Day Tactics deck. We get to select first as the solo player. All right, these are the 6 possible selections for our tactics for the first day. Now, considering the hand that we just drew, we don't have a whole lot of movement there, so we want to try to take a tactic that might help us with that. My favorite is usually the Great Start. It's a lot easier for a novice player to handle. We get to take 2 extra cards immediately into our hand. Another card that I do enjoy is Planning, and at the end of each turn, if you have at least 2 cards in your hand before you draw, as if your hand limit is 1 higher. So if we can keep 2 cards into our D deck, we'll be able to get a hand size of 6 for the rest of the day. So those are probably our 2 choices. Another one would be Rethink, and that allows us to discard 3 cards, including wounds, and then draw that many cards, and then shuffle those discards back into the D deck. So that's another option as well. Now, whatever card we draw, obviously, will not be available to Tovak. And the only thing we're concerned with him is whoever has the lowest number will be having the initiative for this first turn. So we have to kind of keep that somewhat in mind. It's not that important at the beginning of the game, but it can end up getting us an extra round depending upon how quickly Tovak goes through his deck. So it is a mild consideration. I think for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to probably use the Great Start card. So we're going to do that. I'm going to take that card, and that's going to automatically give us a draw of 2 extra cards. So let's draw those cards right now. We've got Crystallize and Swiftness. Okay, the Swiftness will give us a move 2, which is pretty nice. That's not bad. Okay, now we have to find out what card Tovak is going to take. And rather than trying to shuffle a small deck like this, I just use a D6, and I use that to determine what Tovak is going to take. So we'll have a roll here. Okay, 5 is what we've taken, so we'll have to re-roll that. Another 5. And a 3. So Tovak is going to take the Mana Steel, which is fine. All right, these cards are still available. And those 2 cards that have been drawn will only be available during this round. After this round, they're eliminated from the game. Now, as a monastery has been revealed on the board, it says, Training. When a monastery is revealed, put the top card of the Advanced Actions deck face up in the Units offer. Advanced Actions in the Units offer can be bought at any monastery for 6 influence. All right, let's do that. So we'll draw the top Advanced Action and place that in the unit offer. And that's a Crushing Bolt. Gain a green crystal to your inventory. And if it's powered with green, we get Siege Attack 3. All right. Now, to keep the number of monasteries in my mind, I like to use a dice, and I put that for the number of monasteries that are active, because during the end of the round, we're going to be replacing these cards, and we want to make sure that we don't have to keep counting how many monasteries are on the map once it gets larger. So I like to mark that with a die of some kind to keep that in my mind. Now, as Tovak has selected a tactic that has a lower number than us, he is going to be going first. So we've placed him at the top of the activation display, and he'll be going first for this game. Okay, Tovok's turn is very easy to resolve. We're simply going to draw 3 cards and examine the color of that third card. First one is green. Next one is white. And the third one is red. Well, unfortunately, Tovok has a red mana crystal in his inventory, so we have to draw 1 additional card, and that one is white. So that is Tovok's turn. He's moved slightly faster than what we would have liked. All right, now it is our turn, and we're going to place Wolfhawk on the portal. So she steps through the portal and sets foot on the Atlantean plain. All right, now we have to decide on where we are going to move to with our initial movement. I've kind of decided against going up to that Mage Tower. If it ends up that that token is going to be too strong for us, we'll have wasted a lot of movement getting up there. So I'm going to use my plan and attempt to get to that crystal mine, and then we're going to battle the cursed hags and then move into the monastery. I think that is our initial plan. So we're going to have to generate some movement, and we'll see how much we can get with this first set of cards. All right, I've looked at the cards that I have in my hand, and there's no way for me to generate efficiently enough to get us to the mine this turn. So I'm not going to try to push it. We would have to use cards that I want to keep for this upcoming battle with the cursed hags. So I'm going to start out by playing Concentration. That says gain a blue, white, or red mana token. Now its more powerful ability, if we play a green mana from the supply, says when you play this card, play another action card with it. Get the stronger effect of the card for free. If that effect gives you move, influence, or block, then get that amount +2. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to charge that with a green mana from the supply, and we're going to play March. And we're going to use the more powerful effect, +2. That'll give us 6 movement points. So I'm going to move 2 movement points into the plains and 3 movement points into the forest. And that'll be 5 of the 6 points. That gets us closer to our objective. Now I've decided I'm going to try to reach the mine this turn after all. I'm going to play Swiftness, which will be move 2, and we're going to play Threaten sideways, which will give us a 3rd movement point. That'll make it sufficient for us to pay the cost of entering those hills and moving into the mine. So we're there. And I think what I'm going to do is end my turn here, rather than attempt to take out those cursed hags with 3 cards. It has this poison, and we don't want that. If we end up not being able to block that attack from the hags, we're going to gain extra wound cards into our discard, and we don't want that. So I'm going to end it here. So we're going to clean up our cards. We're going to re-roll that die that we used. And it's a blue. All right, so we'll place that in the supply. We've got 2 blue and 1 green. These cards will go into our discard, and now we're going to draw up to our hand limit. Our hand limit is 5, and we currently have 3 cards, so we'll draw 2 more. And we gain March, and we gain Promise. That's not what I wanted. Now we've ended our turn on a crystal mine. It says if you end your turn on a mine, gain 1 mana crystal of that color of that the mine produces into our inventory. So we're going to gain a blue crystal, and we'll add that in to our inventory. So we've ended our turn, and now it is Tovok's turn. We'll have him draw 3 cards. Blue, which is good. Another blue, which is great. And a green. He has no green mana, so that's as far as he's going to go. That was good for us. All right, now it is our turn. And our path to the monastery that we want to get to is being blocked by these cursed hags. Well, unfortunately, I don't have very good attack cards yet. They're going to be coming in the future. So we'll have to decide on balancing the time it's going to take to wait it out or to push through and just use cards for the attacks that we don't necessarily want to use. Well, both options aren't good. I think we're going to have to wait this one out a little bit till we get some other cards into our hand. So I'm going to start out by playing Crystallize. When you play this card, also pay 1 mana of a basic color. Gain a crystal of that color to our inventory. Well, I'm going to use a blue from the supply. And that's going to get us our second mana crystal into our inventory. And we'll add that into our inventory. And I think to make room into our hand for some new cards, I'm going to use the mana draw card. It says you can use 1 additional mana die from the source for this turn. I have enough to block the Cursed Hag's attack, but I don't have enough cards that'll generate enough attack to take them out. So we're going to have to wait this out. This is definitely inefficient the way I'm doing this, but the alternative is not any better. This lake is really a problem. We'd have to go through all of this forested terrain to get around from the back to get at him. And I think that would be more costly than just waiting an extra turn on this mine. So I'm going to end the turn here. We're going to re-roll our die, and I'm hoping to get a gold mana is what I'm hoping for. And we've got red. Well, okay, we'll add red into our supply here in the offer. And then these cards will get cleaned up. And we're ending our turn at a crystal mine, so we're going to gain our third blue crystal. That's the most we can carry. You can have 3 of each type of the basic crystals. So we'll place these 2 cards into our discard and draw 2 new cards. And we're gaining Tranquility and finally Rage. Okay, so that attack 4 will be very useful for us with the red mana crystal that is in the supply right now. So we'll add those into our hand, and that's going to bring our turn to a close. So we'll see what's happening with Tovak. A green, a red, and a green. Well, there's no green in there, so he's proceeding along at a little slower now. That's great. All right, now it is our turn, and we're going to attempt to attack those Cursed Hags. I'm not planning on taking any wounds, so I'm going to use this Tranquility card to draw another card. That one is Tirelessness. Okay. Now we're going to launch our attack on the Cursed Hags. Now I don't have enough ranged attack to take out the Cursed Hags, so we're going to have to go to the attack phase. And the Cursed Hags are going to launch a 3-point attack against us, so we need to block that. And I'm going to use the Determination card, and we're going to power that with a blue mana. That'll give us block 5. So we have blocked their attack. We don't have to worry about their poison. Now we're going to launch an attack, and we need to generate 5 points of attack to take them out. And I'm going to start out with playing Rage. And we're going to power that with the red die from the source. It's going to give us attack 4. So all we need now is 1 more point of attack to take them out. And I think I am going to, this green March card, we'll play that sideways. So we have a total of 4 plus 1 is 5 on the attack. And we'll take out the Cursed Hags. That is great. It's going to net us a total of 3 fame. And we're going to gain also +1 on influence because we're taking out a rampaging enemy. So we're going to move up our fame up by 3. 1, 2, and 3. And we've leveled up at the end of the turn. We also gain +1 to our influence. The people of Atlantia are happy when we take out these rampaging orcs and Draconum. All right, there's not much more that we can accomplish now. The Cursed Hags are gone. Put them in the discard. And now we're going to clean up our area. So we've spent a blue mana. We're going to re-roll the mana that we used. This one's blue. Okay. So we've got 2 blue and a green in the source. And these cards will get cleaned up. And we're going to draw some new cards. Now we're ending our turn in the mine once again, so that's going to give us that blue mana crystal back into our supply. So we're still at 3 blue in our supply. All right, now since we've ended our turn and we have crossed into a new level on our fame track, we get some benefits. It says if your shield token crossed one or more lines on the fame track this turn, you gain a level for each line crossed. The first one is that level symbol. It says when advancing to a new level, remove the top level token, revealing your new armor value and hand limit. So we get to take this token off. Now our armor level is up to 3. We still have a hand limit of 5, but armor's at 3 now. Then we can flip that token over, and that's going to be another command token. So we can have up to 2 units now if we can recruit them. And then it also says that when we're advancing to a level marked with one of these icons, the card icon, we get 1 new skill token and 1 advanced action from the offer. We're going to flip up 2 skill tokens, and we have the option to take 1 of them. So we'll take a look at the skills that are going to be offered to us. Okay, those are the 2 skills. And the first one is Refreshing Breeze. Once a round, except during combat, flip this to get heal 1 and a white crystal to our inventory. That's pretty good. The other one is Deadly Aim. Once a turn, add +1 to the card that provides any type of attack in the ranged and siege attack phase, or add +2 to a card that provides any type of attack, including sideways, in the attack phase. Well, that's a tough decision. Well, this one can only be used once per round. This can be used each turn, so I think we're going to end up taking Deadly Aim. This one is going to go into a spell offer. We can't take this anymore, but there will be other offers from Tovok that'll be placed in there. In the Solitaire rules, it says, every time your hero has gained a skill token, also reveal 1 skill of the dummy player and put it into the common skill offer. It is available to you the next time you gain a skill token. If you choose such a skill from the common skill offer, you have to take the lowest advanced action card, as with usual level up rules. All right, so that skill from Tovok is revealed to be double time. We can gain, by flipping that token, we gain +2 to movement during the day or +1 during the night. We'll put that in our skill offer. All right, so I think this skill is going to help us pretty much. That's pretty interesting. All right, now we're entitled to a draw from the Advanced Actions offer. And the considerations that we have to take into account now are we're getting close to the end of the first day. And when that happens, the lowest card is going to end up going to Tovok. Now, he already has 2 blue crystals. I don't know if we want to give him another blue card into his hand. That's going to be probably not so good. So that is a consideration. I would probably prefer to take the Firebolt, but I think I'm going to take the Temporal Portal. And that's going to allow us to move to an adjacent revealed safe space without provoking rampaging monsters. And whether we move or not, our hand limit is 1 higher the next time that we draw cards. So I think we will end up taking that. So we'll add that into the top of our deed deck. That'll be the first card drawn when we draw cards. These are going to shift down, and we'll reveal another card, and that's Refreshing Walk. So this Heroic Tale is a white card that is going to be going more than likely into Tovok's hand, and white is better than blue. So now we are going to draw our cards up to our hand limit. Hand limit is still 5. We have 2 cards currently, Promise and Tirelessness. So we'll draw our 3 cards to get us to hand limit of 5. We're going to get our Temporal Portal, Swift Reflexes, and Stamina. Okay, And now Tovok will take his turn. First card is blue. That's great. Second one is white. And the third one is blue. And unfortunately, that's not good. He's going to be taking 2 extra cards because of that mana that he has. All right, so his hand now is 1 card, so he'll be declaring end of round pretty soon. All right, so my plan for this turn is to travel to the monastery, and then we can do some explorations. And if we can generate enough movement, we'll be able to explore maybe 2 new map areas. And I think I'm going to start out by playing Tirelessness. And we will bump that up with some blue mana from the source. That says move 4. Each other card providing move, including cards played sideways, gives you +1 to move this turn. And then I'm going to play Stamina. And we're going to power that with 1 of our blue mana from our supply. And that'll give us 4 + 1, 5. So we have a total of 9 movement. So I'm going to move 2 and 4 into the monastery. So we've spent 4 of our 9 movement points. I'm going to spend 2 movement points to explore this area. So we'll take the top tile from the displays and see what we've got. Okay, this one is going to be arranged like this. All right, so what do we have here? Magical Glade, a village, a green mine, and rampaging orcs. So let's get out some rampaging orcs. And those have a swift ability. And those orcs are wolf riders. So we've got a new location on the map, and that is a village. So we'll get out our village card, see what we can do with that. All right. So we've spent 6 of our 9 available movement points. And we can either explore, or we could continue to try to move on the map. And I think we'll spend another 2 to explore this region. Let's see what's there. All right. This one is going to go into that configuration. We've got a mage tower and another wandering marauding orc. So we've got a mage tower and a marauding orc. These are diggers. We also have another new type of location. And that new location is an ancient ruin. And it says, when revealed, place a yellow token here face up if it is day, and face down if it is night. Okay, so we'll draw a yellow token, and since it is day, let's see what we get. All right. That says we can enter the ancient ruins as an action for the turn. There will either be an altar there or enemies to fight. Well, in this case, it's enemies. Now, we still have 1 movement point left, and I can supplement that with additional cards because we're still in the movement phase. And it's actually a good tactic is don't lay out all of the movement cards that you want to use right away. You can do it in steps so that you can plan like this. We've laid out a new tile, and we could now redirect ourselves if we choose. We haven't finished with our move. But I think at this point, I'm going to end my turn here. And we're going to do our cleanup. So we'll re-roll our die that we used. And we've got black. Well, black is not useful to us in daytime. The mana is spent, and these cards will go into the discard. And now we'll draw up to our hand limit. We've got 3 cards right now. Swift Reflexes, Temporal Portal, and Promise. So we'll draw 2 extra cards. Those will be the last 2 in our hand. And we ended up getting Rage and Improvisation. All right. And now it is Tovok's turn. He only has 1 card left in his hand, in his deed deck. So that is as far as he goes. Next turn, he is going to declare end of round. So we know that Tovak is going to be declaring end of round next turn. So we basically have 2 turns to spend the 5 cards that we've got. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm counting on, during the night turn, we're going to be getting a new offer for a new unit offer. And I'm hoping that those units will be available at the village. So I'm going to be making my way towards there. But I think in the short term, what we're going to do is we're just going to soft pedal this. I'm going to spend the Swift Reflexes card. That'll give us 2 movement points. And we're going to spend the Rage card sideways. That'll give us 3 movement points. And that will allow us to get to that mine where we can have access to a green crystal. So I'm going to end my turn here. We'll clean up these cards. We'll gain our green mana crystal into our supply. And that's going to end our turn. Moving on to Tovak. He has no cards left, so he will declare his end of round. So this is going to be the last turn of this first day. And I'm going to start out by playing Improvisation. Discard another card from your hand to get 3 move, and that's what we'll do. So we're going to discard the Temporal Portal, and that gets us 3 move. I'm also going to play the Promise card sideways to generate a 4th movement point. And we'll spend those 4 points, 2, 4, to move into the village, and we'll set ourselves up for this upcoming night. And that is going to be the end of this round. We'll clean up our cards. We're going to shuffle our deed deck. We'll shuffle the deed deck for Tovak. And then we'll do some cleanup work on the main board. Okay, so for the end of the round, first thing we're going to do is we're going to give this final card from the Advanced Actions offer, we're going to put that into Tovak's hand. It's a white card, which is not too bad. He's also going to gain a mana token to his supply equal to the last card in the list of the spell offer. It'll be a white one. So we will be giving him a white mana crystal to his supply. He's got 2 red, a white, 2 blue, a red, and a white. So these other cards now are going to be placed at the bottom of the decks. And we'll bring out 3 new spells. Okay, Demolish, Underground Travel, and Flame Wall. All right. Same thing will happen to the Advanced Unit offer. These are going to go to the bottom of the deck, and we'll deal out 3 new ones. Ice Bolt, Shield Bash, and Agility. Okay. And finally, the units in the unit offer are going to be placed at the bottom of the unit offer. We haven't laid out any core tiles yet, so we're still using the silver-backed cards. In addition, the 1 special card that is due to the monastery will also be placed in the advanced unit offer, and a new one will come out. That one is Ambush. Okay, we'll get our 3 units for the unit offer. Guardian Golems, Foresters, and Udam Swordsman. Well, unfortunately, only the Foresters are available in the village, so that's probably going to have to be our target. So now we're going to have to re-roll our dice, and we will move this to a night. Night 1. Okay, here's our roll for our night. And we've got 2 green and a white. Okay, that is our mana offer. Now we have to select our tactic for this coming night. But before we do that, we're going to draw our 5-card hand for the coming night turn. And our 5-card hand will consist of Mana Draw, Threaten, that's good for us, Tirelessness, Rage, and Stamina. Okay, And as I'm planning on doing some recruiting, I'd like to get another card that would give us some influence. So I'm going to play or select the preparation card. It says when you take this tactic, search your deck for any one card and put it in your hand. Then shuffle your deck. So let's do that. Now, as we have a white mana die in the supply, I'm going to select the Promise card that will allow us to get Influence 4. So we're going to add that into our hand, and then we'll shuffle our deed deck. Now we'll make a roll to see what card Tovok is going to select. It's 1, so he is going to take From the Dusk. So he'll be going first once again. Well, so far we're going pretty slow, and I know that for a fact. That Cursed Hags really did a number on us in blocking us out, and especially with the cards that I had. I didn't have any combat cards until the end of we got to the end of our deed deck, so there wasn't much we could do. We'll get ready to start the next night turn now, beginning with Tovok. And he draws a green, a white, and a green. Well, there's no green there, so that's as far as he's going to go. That's good for us. So night has settled across the Atlantean landscape, and we've taken refuge in a village. So I think I'm going to start out with, we're going to do some influence, and we're going to try to pick up, I think, those foresters. That's the only unit in the offer that we're eligible to recruit. So I think I'm going to play Promise, and we're going to charge that with white mana, giving us 4 influence. I need to get at least 1 more in order to gain those foresters, so we're going to play Threaten, and that is influence 2. So we've got a total of 6 influence, and that's just enough. Actually a little bit more than we need to gain these foresters. It's a level 1 unit. It's got an armor of 4, gives us move 2, reducing the costs of forest, hills, and swamps by 1, and a block 3. So we're going to add that into one of our command tokens. So we'll place those foresters under one of our command tokens. We've still got space for 1 more. And that's a good start for us. And I think that's all that we're going to accomplish in this first night turn. What I'm planning on doing is, now since we have those foresters, they're going to assist us in getting across some more difficult terrain. I'm thinking we move into the magical glade, do some exploration, and then try to hit those marauding orcs. And we'll see what happens after that. So we'll do our cleanup, and we'll start by re-rolling that mana die. And we'll see what we get. We've got red, that's good. We'll put that into the supply. We've got 2 green and a red. We'll clean up our cards. And we will draw our new cards for our hand. And we have a total of 4 cards in our hand. And we're going to draw 1 new one. And this one is Tranquility. All right. So we'll move on to Tovok. Okay, here's Tovok's turn. Blue. That's good. White. And, oh no, a blue. So 2 more cards. A white and a red. Okay, so he's going at a little faster pace than what we'd like. Now, one thing I think that we are going to do is I'm going to pillage, or I should say plunder, that village, since it is Tovok's turn. It says you can plunder a village during another player's turn. You can only plunder a village once between each of your turns. If you do, draw 2 cards, and you get -1 reputation. So I'm going to explain to the villagers that this plundering is necessary if they want us to handle these marauding orcs. That'll be my explanation. So we're going to draw 2 new cards, and we'll reduce our reputation by 1. And we end up drawing March and Crystallize. So we'll add those to our hand. All right. And since we have plundered them, they're not too happy with us. We'll lose one in our reputation, so we're back where we started. And so following that plundering of the village, we're going to, I think, do some movement. And I think before we start, I'm going to use this Tranquility card. I don't think we're going to be needing any healing, because if we do have any problems, we're going to be in the glade, and that will allow us to heal. So I'm going to use this to draw a card. And we've drawn Swiftness. All right. So I'm going to generate some movement, and I think we are going to try to move into that magical glade. Now it's nighttime, and we have trouble getting through forested areas at night. It costs 5 movement points to move in there. And I think I'm going to start out by playing Crystallize, and we're going to power that with a mana from our supply. And that says gain a crystal of any color to your inventory. And I'm going to gain a white crystal because I'm planning to use a ranged attack against these orcs. So we'll start out with that. That'll give us a white crystal. I'm going to be employing the services of our foresters, and they're going to lead the way for us. So we're going to use the foresters, and it says move 2, and the move cost of forests, hills, and swamps is reduced by 1 this turn to a minimum of 0. So that's going to reduce the cost of moving into a forest from 5 down to 4. So we need to generate another 2 movement points minimum, and I think what I'm going to end up doing is I will play the March card, and we're going to power that with a green mana die from the source. That'll give us 4 movement points. So we've got a total of 6 right now. We're going to spend 4 to move into the glade, and we'll spend 2 more to explore. And so we're going to do some exploration, and we've got this tile. It's a very mountainous one, and it's going to go into that configuration. All right, what do we have here? We've got another mage tower. We also have a keep. And another new type of terrain called a dungeon. That's an adventure site. And I think that is all of the movement that we're going to do. We're going to launch an attack now against those wolf riders. And we'll begin with the ranged attack phase. And I'm going to start out by playing Swiftness. And we're going to power that with white mana from our supply, giving us ranged attack 3. We're also going to use the skill that says +1 to ranged attack. That is great. That is our Deadly Aim skill. It adds +1 to a card that we play. So we're going to have ranged attack 4, and that's enough to take out these wolf riders before they even have a chance to strike at us. So that is great. We're going to gain 3 fame, and since it is a marauding unit, we'll gain +1 to our reputation. So that unit is eliminated from the game. So we're going to gain +1 to our reputation and 3 fame. We're up to 6. And so we've performed a successful night ranged attack, and we took out those wolf riders before they knew what hit them, which is great. All right, so what we do now is we're going to clean up our area. This token is usable once per turn, which is good. So we'll put that back into our display. That'll be active again for next round, or next turn, I should say. These mana crystals are used, and we're going to re-roll our green die. This one's white. Okay, so we've got a white, green, and red in the supply. We'll clean up these cards, and interestingly enough, now we are on a magic glade. And that magic glade, That magic glade says, imbued with magic, if you start your turn on a magical glade during the day, you gain a gold mana token. If you start your turn on a magical glade during the night, you gain a black mana token. So we're going to be getting a black mana token. We can't use it at present, but it's nice to have nonetheless. I've got 4 cards in my hand for the current time. We've got Mana Draw, Stamina, Rage, and Tirelessness. So we'll be drawing 1 extra card, and that is March. So we definitely have no problems with generating movement. That is for sure. Where we're lacking is combat. And what I'm thinking on doing in the next turn is I'm going to move, and I'm going to probably try to move somewhere into this location, or possibly into the monastery. And we're going to attack those orcs. And then I'm going to try to make my way maybe to that mage tower, and we'll see what happens. And now it is Tovok's turn. He's got a green. He's got a blue. And a white. Okay, he's got 1 white token, so we'll give him an extra one. All right, not too bad. All right, so I think we are going to generate some movement, and I'm going to get in position to attack these rampaging orcs. So we need at least 5 movement to get into this location. And I think I'll start out by playing the Tirelessness card, and it says move 2. And the next card, providing move, will give us +1 to move. So I think I will, right now that gives us 2. We'll play the March card, giving us another 2. +1 is 3, so that's a total of 5 movement. That's what we need. So we'll move 3, 4, 5. All right. Now I'm going to launch an attack on these rampaging, marauding orcs. Now they are fortified, so we can't use any ranged attack to take them out. So we're going to have to accept battle with them. And they're going to deal a total of 3 damage to us. And I'm going to let that damage go through. Right now our armor level is 3. So that means that we're going to take 1 wound, and that's going to be added into our hand. And then we subtract 3, which is our armor level, from the attack, and that's 0, so that's all the damage that we're going to take. Now we're going to strike against them. And I'm going to play Rage, and we're going to power that with red mana from the source. Gives us attack 4, and that's sufficient to take these guys out, and that's going to earn us 2 fame and 1 extra influence. So those diggers are put into the discarded pile, and that's going to offer us 2 fame, 1 and 2, moving us up to the next level. Plus we gain +1 to influence. That's great. And I think that's all that we're going to do. So we're going to clean up our area. We'll re-roll this die. It's a black. Well, it's nighttime, but I don't know how much use we'll get out of that. And so now we're able to level up, and we've crossed into this shield row, and that says remove your top level token, revealing a new armor value and hand limit. Let's do it. Okay, so we will remove this token and flip it. And that's going to give us another command token. And now we have a hand limit of 6 and an armor of 3. That's great. So we'll draw our cards now. We've got a total of 3 cards in our hand. We'll draw 3 new ones. And we get Swift Reflexes, Determination, and Improvisation. Okay. We'll have to do something about this wound card, but we will take care of that when the time allows. Now we'll take care of Tovok. Green. Red. Uh-oh. And it's blue. So he'll be drawing 2 more. And that is exhausting his hand. Okay, he'll be declaring end of round next round. So our time is being cut short, and we'll have to see what we want to do with the cards we have. What I'm thinking of is to move to the monastery, and then we can gain some healing. We could get rid of that wound card in our hand, and that'll prepare us then possibly for an assault against this mage tower. I would like to get us a spell if possible. So I think we might be doing that. So I'm going to be playing move 2, and that's just enough for us to get to the monastery. And at the monastery it says healing. You can buy 1 point of healing for 2 influence here. So I'm going to use the improvisation card. And it says discard another card from your hand to get 3 move, influence, attack, or block. So I'm going to discard the mana draw card, and it's going to give us 3 influence. And that's going to be enough for us to heal our wound from our hand. So that gets discarded back to the supply. And I think that is going to be the end of our turn. So we'll clean up these cards, and we'll draw back up to our hand limit. Our hand limit is now 6. We've got 2 cards in our hand, Swift Reflexes and Determination. And we'll draw, well, we only have 3 cards left in our deed deck. So we're going to be gaining Concentration, Temporal Portal, and Rage. All right, so that's what we've got. So Tovak is up, and he has no cards left in his deed deck, so he is going to declare end of round. All right, so the end of this first night is drawing to a close. We have 1 unit that we could recruit here, and that's the Guardian Golems. Unfortunately, that takes 7 influence. Now, we get +1 influence because of our reputation. So let's see if we could possibly engineer enough points to do this. Unfortunately, even with that +1 reputation, I don't have enough to generate 7 influence. And I think all we can do is try to get ourselves in position for that mage tower. It's going to be daytime, and we'll be able to, for next to it, we can reveal what is in there. So I'm going to play Temporal Portal. Play as your action for this turn. You may move to an adjacent revealed safe space without provoking rampaging monsters. That's what we'll do. We'll move to the adjacent space. And that is going to bring our turn to a close. So as this is the end of the round, we're going to go with day 2 coming up. And we'll give our dice a roll. And we'll see what's in the offer. And we've got a gold, a white, and a blue. That's good. All right. Now we're going to refresh our offers. Now this white card is going to go into Tovak's deck. And he's also going to gain a red mana crystal for this card. So Tovak's crystals are 2 blue, 2 red, and a white. And we'll refresh these offers now. And we've got Dodge and Weave, Pathfinding, and Spellforge. Now for our spells. Spells are Wings of Wind, Expose, and Chill. And now we'll take care of our advanced offer for the monastery and our unit offers. So this will be discarded along with both of the units. And we'll see what we get. We still don't have a core tile yet, so we'll be using silverbacks. Magic Familiars, Foresters, and Savage Monks. And the advanced offer is Counterattack. Okay. Okay, our Foresters are now refreshed, and we're going to draw our hand of 6 cards. March, Rage, Temporal Portal, Threaten, Swift Reflexes, and Mana Draw. Okay, well, we're going to have to pick our day tactic now. And as I would like to take on that Mage Tower, since it's daylight, let's see what that Mage Tower is first. All right, and I believe those are Fire Mages. And that's what they are, Fire Mages. All right, a Mage Tower is a fortified site, so even if the unit does not have fortified, it is inside of that Mage Tower. So we would need to get some type of siege attack would be the only way to take them out prior to combat. Now they have a 6 fire attack and they are fire resistant. So putting all of that into the mix, we'll see if we can pick a tactic that will help us. Well, I think we are going to take Rethink. That says when you take this tactic, discard up to 3 cards, including wounds, from your hand. Then draw that many cards. Shuffle your discard pile back into your D deck. Okay. Now we'll make a roll for Tovak's choice. He's got a choice between 1, 4, and 6. 5, 2, 4. So he's going to be taking the planning tactic. All right. So we're going to do our Rethink now. All right, I'm going to discard Mana Draw, Temporal Portal, and Threaten. We're not going to be doing any influence at this point, so we'll get rid of these cards. Those will be shuffled back in, and we'll choose 3 cards from the top of the deck and add those to the hand. We've got Stamina, Tirelessness, and Crystallize. Not what I wanted. So we have the initiative for this turn, and we'll be going first. I definitely think we have to go after that Mage Tower and those Fire Mages. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of the attack that we need. And so we're going to begin our activation, and I'm going to start out with Stamina, 2 movement. And we're going to move into the tower, and we're going to attack those Fire Mages. I have no siege attack, so we're going to go to their standard attack. Now they're hitting us with 6 points of fire attack. So to efficiently block that, we would need some ice block or cold fire block. We don't have any. So I'm going to let that go through. We're going to take 6 damage. That means we're going to take a wound into our hand. We reduce that damage by the amount of our armor. That's 3. We'll take another wound into our hand, and that reduces that 3 by 3 again, and we've taken all of the damage required. And now it is our turn to melee attack. So I'm going to attempt to come up with attack 5. Now these fire mages have fire resistance. It says all fire attacks are inefficient, halved. The enemy ignores any non-attack effects of red cards or unit abilities powered by red mana. And this is where the game gets a little tricky. Now these units are fire resistant. So it says that the enemy ignores any non-attack effects of red cards or unit abilities powered by red mana. So we're able to use red cards for standard attacks, but when it's something beyond that, these units may have some type of immunity to that. So what we're going to do is we're going to play Swift Reflexes. I'm going to power that with a white mana from the supply. That's going to give us a ranged attack 3. We can use ranged attack during the melee attack. It's no problem. So that's 3 points right there. We need to generate a total of 5 to get rid of these. And I'm going to play Rage Attack 2. And that is going to get us the 5 points of attack that we need. And we're going to kill these fire mages. And we've taken control of that tower, and we're going to place a control marker there to let us know that we did it. Now we're going to lose a reputation for attacking that tower, so we're back down to 0. And the card says, for Mage Tower, while conquered, any player can recruit units and buy spells here. Spells can be bought for 7 influence plus a mana. That is the same color as the spell being bought. And since we've conquered that tower, we get to gain a spell as our reward. And so we're going to gain a spell of our choice at the end of our turn. And I think we're going to declare our end of turn here. So let's take our spell. I think I'm going to take the Expose card. Target enemy loses all fortifications and resistances for this combat. Ranged attack 2. So we'll take that. We'll put that on the top of our deed deck. Cards are going to slide down, and we'll refresh the spell offer. That's Charm. And almost forgot, we took out those fire mages. We gained 5 fame. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're almost up to our next level, which will be great. So that's going to be the end of the turn. We'll roll the die. It is gold. That's great. These cards will be put into the discard, and we'll draw ourselves up to our hand limit. We've got a total of 5 cards, including the 2 wounds that we took, so we'll gain 1 extra. And that is our spell that we just acquired. And now Tovak is up. He gets 3 cards. Green, red, that's good, and green. Well, he has no green. That's fantastic. Now we are in a Mage Tower that gives us the access to recruit units at the Mage Tower. And right now we've got a choice of the Magic Familiars or Savage Monks. I wouldn't mind trying to get those Savage Monks. However, unfortunately, with the cards I have and the wounds that we have, there's no way I can get enough influence to gain 7 influence to get the Savage Monk, so we'll have to come up with something else. And I think I'm going to start out with a March card, and we're going to use some green mana from our inventory to bump that up to move 4. Then I'm going to play Tirelessness, and that's going to get us move 2. So we've got a total of 6 movement. We're going to spend 3 to move on to the hills, and then we're going to do some exploring. And I think we're going to explore this area here. Okay, and we've got, wow, very busy tile, as it were. Okay, so we have a monastery, we have rampaging orc, got a maze, and an encampment. It's called a refugee camp. All right, so we'll reveal the rampaging orc. And those are known as ironclads. And they have a special ability called Brutal. If unblocked, it deals twice as much damage as its attack value. And unfortunately, there are walls here as well, so it makes it a little difficult to get at it. And I think we're going to use a blue mana crystal from our supply to bump that tirelessness up to its superior action. It says move 4. So right now we've got a total of move 8. We've spent 3 and 2 is 5 to explore, and I think we'll spend those other 3 to move into the monastery. And we'll do that. And then I'm going to play Crystallize. It says when you play this card, also pay 1 mana of basic color. Gain a crystal of that color to your inventory. Well, I'm going to use a blue, and that's going to gain us a blue crystal to our supply. That's the only one we've got so far. And I believe that is going to bring our turn to a close. We'll do our cleanup now. Get rid of these tokens and re-roll the mana die. And it is blue again, so we've got 2 gold and a blue in the supply. These cards will go into the discard, and we'll draw our hand back up to 6. We've got a total of 3 cards, including 2 wounds. So we've got the March card, Concentration, and Determination. All right. All right, we'll move on to Tovak. White, white, and a green. Well, he has no green, so that's good for us. All right, we're up next, and we are on a monastery, so we would be able to get some healing here. Right now, I've only got 4 cards that are viable. Expose, Concentration, Determination, and March, so that isn't going to be sufficient to take on these fortified orcs or this yellow token in the ruins. So I think what we'll have to do is do some healing. So what I'm going to do is surrender 2 cards. I'll get rid of the March card, and well, I think we'll do it this way. We're going to stay there and heal, so we'll get rid of 2 cards, and I'll get rid of March and Concentration, and that'll get us 1 point of healing. I'll be able to get rid of 1 of the wounds, and then we can draw back up to our hand limit. So I've got 3 cards right now, and we'll get 3 more. That is our hand limit. Swiftness, Temporal Portal, and Tranquility. So that will be our hand for the next turn. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to end the video here. I don't know if this video is useful for anyone. I'm not playing to any level of skill that would be very helpful other than to maybe novice players. So what I'll do is I'm going to post what I have, and if it ends up that this is something that is useful for the viewers, I'll continue the playthrough. I don't think that I'm going to be able to win. I've burned way too much time with poor play. I'd be lucky to probably take out find one city and take it out rather than getting both. But if this is something that the viewers are enjoying, I'll continue the playthrough. Otherwise, we'll move on to something else. I don't want to waste the viewers' time. So in the meantime, this is Keith from the Solo Gamers Club signing off and wishing everyone a pleasant evening. Good night.